Listen to me. You were born with the most sophisticated technology in the known universe. 86 billion neurons, each with up to 10,000 synaptic connections. But here's the problem: most of you are running the 21st century lives on software that hasn't been updated since the Stone Age. You think you're a victim of biology? You think you're just wired this way? That's a lie. I'm here to tell you that the brain is not a static organ. It's a dynamic, ever changing process of neuroplasticity. When we look at this slide, we see the shift from cortisol, the death hormone that shrinks your hippocampus, to dopamine, the molecule of more. But let's go deeper. We are not just swapping chemicals, we are shifting the neuromodulatory tone of your entire system. In this research, we see that when you live in chronic stress, you're literally pruning away the connections of your prefrontal cortex, the part of your dreams, plans, and that executes. You are lobotomizing your own potential. But when you engage in the protocols I'm going to show you, you trigger BDNF, brain derived neurotrophic factor. Think of this as the miracle grow for your mind. You can literally grow new neurons. You can remap your destiny. This isn't self help, this is self directed neuroplasticity. It means you're the architect, you're the engineer, and today we are going to start the greatest construction project of your life. Are you ready to build the masterpiece? Let's talk about the grand illusion. Most people believe their eyes work like video camera, recording the world exactly as it is. Science tells us that that is 100% false. Your brain is locked in a dark, bony vault. It has never seen the sun. It has never felt the wind. It only receives electrical spikes. The brain is a Bayesian prediction engine. It doesn't wait for information. It guesses what's happening based on your past experiences. We call this predictive coding. 95% of what you perceive is actually a top down projection from your memory, while only 5% is bottom up sensory data. Think about the implications. If your past was full of failure, your brain is literally predicting failure in the present. You don't see the world as it is, you see the world as you are. Anxiety is nothing more than a prediction error, where the brain overestimates threat because it's using an outdated model. The thalamus acts as the gateway. It filters out everything that doesn't fit your current story. If you believe you are unworthy, your thalamus will literally delete evidence of your worth before it even reaches your conscious mind. This is why you feel stuck. You aren't fighting reality, you are fighting hallucination. Today, we're going to interrupt that feed and update the model. Again, you do not see the world with your eyes. The input, the eyes and the senses only take in raw signals, 11 million bits of fragmented sensory data per second. The filter box. Inside the dark box of the skull, raw signals are filtered through past memories, stored emotions, and prior programming. The construct. What you experience is highly filtered, constructed hallucination, a user interface designed for survival, not for objective reality. The kitten experiment, Blakemore and Copper, 1970. In 1970, Blakemore and Copper conducted a study that should haunt and inspire every one of you. They raised kittens in a world of only horizontal lines. When those kittens were brought into the real world, they couldn't see vertical lines. They would walk straight into a chair leg as if it didn't exist. Their brains hadn't developed the feature detectors in the visual cortex to process verticality. Now, look at the human parallel. This is the neurobiology of limitation. If you were raised in a household where money was a struggle or where emotions were suppressed, your brain developed horizontal only neurons of your life. You aren't missing opportunities, your brain literally lacks the neural architecture to see them. I've seen this in the lab. Individuals with a scarcity mindset show reduced activation in the ventral striatum, when presented with a win. They are neurologically blind to abundance. But here is the miracle: those kittens could eventually adapt if the stimulus were changed early enough. And for you as human, your critical period for change is right now. We are going to perform a neural intervention. We are going to force your brain to look at the vertical lines of your life, the opportunities, the love, the strength, until your visual cortex has no choice but to build the neurons to see them. You're not blind, you're just underdeveloped. And today, we start with the training. The prediction machine, the brain does not simply react to the present, it holds a stored model of the world and constantly predicts the future. Senses are primarily used to update the prediction. If you want to change what you experience, you must reprogram the baseline expectation. Now, this is a cycle as you see on the slide here. Sensory input, taking in real time data, update and filter, filling the gaps to match the expectation, past model, stored memories and beliefs, and then prediction, projecting the model onto the current moment. Let's break down the 5-step assembly line of your reality. This is how the simulation is built. Raw input, your senses get hit by a chaotic mess of energy. Neural encoding, your brain translates that mess into the language of mind, that's electricity. The filter, this is the key secret. Your hippocampus compares the incoming signal to your master file of past trauma and triumphs. Comparison, your brain asks, does this identity fit to me? If you think you are a failure and someone compliments you, your brain rejects it as a system error. Constructed perception, you finally see what your brain has decided is safe for you to see. This is active inference. You aren't discovering the world, you are inventing it. When you say, I can't, you are giving a command to your reticular activating system. Your reticular activating system is the executive assistant of your brain. If you tell it, I'm a failure, it'll spend 24 hours a day finding evidence to prove you're right. If you want a new life, you have to provide the reticular activating system with a new job description. You have to feed it with the new data through mental rehearsal. We have found that the brain cannot distinguish between vividly imagined event and a real one. When you visualize your success with high emotional intensity, you are literally pre-wiring the construction. You are changing the filter. You are changing the world. Let's talk about the ghost in the machine, the default mode network, DMN. This is a collection of brain regions that fire up the moment you stop focusing on the task. It's the seat of the self. It's the voice in your head that says, I'm not good enough, or why did I say that? The default mode network is the thermostat of your identity. If your identity is set to average, the moment you start to achieve greatness, your default mode network kicks in and triggers self-sabotage to bring you back to the set point. It feels like resistance or procrastination, but it's actually survival mechanism. Your brain values predictability over happiness. Based on research, we see that high performers have a different relationship with default mode network. They use task positive networks to suppress the default mode network. During the day, we can actually quiet the ego through mindfulness and identity shifts. To change your life, you must target the default mode network. You have to disrupt the autopilot. We do this by challenging our labels. If you say, I'm a smoker, your default mode network will fight to keep you smoking. If you say, I'm a health conscious leader, the default mode network starts to rewire to support that new set point. You don't try to change, you command the change by redefining the default. Who is the new you? Identity is the strongest force in the human personality. It is the ceiling. You will never consistently outperform your own self-image. Why? Because the brain requires cognitive consistency. If you view yourself as a struggling entrepreneur, your brain will unconsciously seek out problems to solve. So you remain as struggling. It's neurological loop. This is why willpower fails. Willpower is a prefrontal function. It's exhausting, it runs out of fuel. Identity is basal ganglia function. It's automatic, effortless, and permanent. Sustainable change is identity first. Look at the identity based habit model. Most people try to change the outcome. I want to be rich. Some try to change the process. I want to work hard. But the masters of change the identity. I'm a person of immense value. When you change the I am, you change the neural firing patterns of the whole system. You stop trying to be disciplined and become disciplined. We call this neurosemantics. The words you attach to yourself become the architecture of your synapses. Stop using identity labels that no longer serve you. Rip them. Rewrite the script. Declare who you are with the power of your entire nervous system. Yes or no? We used to think that the brain was fixed by age 25. That is scientifically obsolete. You have 86 billion neurons with the capacity for infinite reorganization. This is Hebb's law. Neurons that fire together wire together. But there is a second half to that law people forget. Neurons that fire apart wire apart. This is long-term depression, LTD. You can literally unwire your depression, unwire your fear, and unwire your past. However, there is a catch. Neuroplasticity is a double-edged sword. If you spend all day complaining, you become a master of misery. You're building a superhighway to unhappiness. To flip the switch, you need two things: focus and feeling. Plasticity is gated by focus and urgency and energy. If you want to rewire your brain, you can't be casual about it. You have to be intense. You have to engage with high emotional energy to signal you to your brain. This information matters. Keep this, encode this. Look at that iceberg, your conscious mind, the part of you that is listening to me right now. It's just the tip. It processes about 40 bits per second. But your subconscious, it processes at 40 million bits per second. The subconscious is the autopilot. It controls your heart rate, your digestion, and more importantly, your automatic reactions to life. If you feel blocked, it's because your conscious desires are in a tug of war with your subconscious programming. And I promise you, the 40 million bits will win every single time. To change the subconscious, you can't just talk to it. It doesn't speak English. It speaks the language of repetition and emotion. Let me repeat it for you again. To change the subconscious, you can't just talk to it. It doesn't speak English. It speaks the language of repetition and emotion. This is why we use incantations and state changes. We have to bypass the critical analytical filter of the conscious mind and plant seeds of your new identity directly into the fertile soil of subconscious. You have been programmed by your environment, by your parents, by the media. Today, we take back the keyboard. We are going to reprogram the operating system so that success isn't something you do, it's something you are. Are you ready to go deep? Why are you stuck? It isn't a lack of talent, it's a neurological gridlock. Identity mismatch. Your brain thinks the new you is a stranger to your amygdala. Change equals danger. It will literally trigger a fight or flight response to stop you from going to the gym or making that sales call. This is a new thing. This is called cheap dopamine. We are living in a dopamine crisis. Social media, sugar, and endless scrolling have fried your reward circuits. Your brain is so flooded with easy rewards that it has no motive force left for the hard, meaningful goals. Dysregulation. If your nervous system is stuck in survival mode, that is sympathetic, your prefrontal cortex, the human part of your brain, literally goes offline. You are trying to solve complex life problems with a lizard brain. When you are dysregulated, you don't see possibilities, you see only threats. You aren't lazy, you're biologically compromised. We have to clear that gridlock. We have to lower that threat response, detox the dopamine, and align the identity. When the gridlock clears, The momentum is unstoppable. It's time to get unstuck. Obsessive passion is a deficiency motivation. You do it because you're afraid of what happens if you don't. It's fueled by high cortisol and adrenaline. It leads to burnout because you're burning your own tissues for the fuel. Harmonious passion, on the other hand, is growth motivation. It is integrated into your identity. It's fueled by endorphins and dopamine. It is the flow state. When you're in the harmonious passion, you don't spend energy, you generate it. We see this in heart brain coherence. Obsessive passion shows jagged, chaotic heart rhythms. Harmonious passion shows a smooth sine wave pattern. This coherence actually expands your perceptual field. You literally see more solutions. Ask yourself, is your goal a must because you love the vision, or a must because you're running from a ghost? One will kill you, the other will set you free. We are going to shift your why from the fear to love, from running from to pulling toward. This is the secret to elite level sustainability. A dysregulated nervous system is like a student in a classroom being bullied by every peer. The student cannot absorb new information, rewire patterns, or create a new future. Regulation is not optional, it is prerequisite for everything else. I'm going to give you the most single important foundation for transformation: regulation. If your nervous system is fried, your brain is closed. Think of your vagus nerve as the information superhighway between your gut and the brain. 80% of the signals go up. If your body is tense, your brain receives a constant alert. You cannot learn, you cannot grow, and you cannot love in this state. We need to tone the vagus nerve, box breathing or extended exhalation, where the exhale is longer than inhale. Flips the switch from sympathetic to parasympathetic. Rest, digest, and create in under 60 seconds. You must learn to say no to things that dysregulate you. Every yes to a toxic person is a no to your own neuroplasticity. Regulation is a prerequisite for greatness. You wouldn't try to drive a car with a broken engine. Don't try to drive a life with a broken nervous system. Breathe, regulate, then and only then dominate. Uh, let's go through every pillar of this approach. Vagus nerve toning. Humming, cold water, slow exhalation directly activates parasympathetic system, shifting from sympathetic threat mode to ventral vagal safety. Slowing down, this is quite important. Chronic rushing keeps cortisol elevated. Deliberately decelerating signals safety, enabling prefrontal re-engagement. Protective boundaries. Saying no, as I already stated, to energy drainers is neurologically protective. Each agreement you don't want trains the amygdala to distrust your own judgment. Purposeless joy. Activities done purely for joy, no outcome attached, restore parasympathetic tone and activate the reward circuits that make neuroplasticity possible. Presence practice. Mindfulness measurably thickens the prefrontal cortex and shrinks amygdala volume in 8 weeks. Increase response flexibility over reactivity. Regulate, then respond. Decisions made in reactive, dysregulated state repeat old programming. Pause, regulate, then choose. This is one core practice. Let's talk about neural pruning and myelination. A habit is just pathway that's been myelinated, wrapped in a fatty sheath that makes the signal move at a lightning speed. You don't break a habit, you build a faster one. Next to it, awareness. You have to catch the subconscious trigger. Then you got to do a pattern interrupt. You have to do something radical. Shout, jump, clap to break the electrical loop. And you have to have a new response. You must choose a better action immediately. Repetition, the 66-day rule. It takes an average of 66 days for new pathway to become automated in the basal ganglia. Identity alignment. This is the secret sauce. You have to believe this is just who I am now. When the habit matches the identity, it becomes a laminar flow, no friction, just movement. Stop trying to fight the old you. Start investing in the new you. Repetition is the mother of skill, and the skill is the mother of transformation. That is the key to the neuroscience of habit change. Cheap versus deep dopamine. Understanding the distinction is essential for reclaiming motivation and purpose. We are living in a dopamine desert because we're chasing cheap mirages. Cheap dopamine is anticipatory, it's the high before the scroll, but it's always followed by a dopamine crash. A deficient state that makes you feel anxious and empty. Deep dopamine, on the other hand, is earned. It comes from solving a hard problem, finishing a workout, or helping a friend. It doesn't crash, it builds. Tonic dopamine levels your baseline level of happiness and drive. If you want to be a neural elite, you must go on a dopamine fast. Stop the easy wins. When you deprive the brain of the cheap stuff, your receptors become more sensitive. Suddenly, a sunset looks beautiful again. A book becomes fascinating. Work becomes joy. Protect your dopamine reservoir. Don't give it away to a Silicon Valley algorithm. Save it for your mission. Save it for your family. Save it for your legacy. Unlocking the feeling state architecture. It's an inverse pyramid. First, we start at the surface goal. Identify the goal. We rarely want the actual object or the achievement. We want the feeling we believe that the object will provide. That is the first layer in the inverse pyramid. The second one is the core feeling. Get that feeling, extract that feeling, isolate that specific emotion. Example, I don't just want this successful business. I want to feel growth, confidence, and joy. And the last part in the inverse pyramid is the immediate activation. You do not need to wait for the goal to experience the feeling. Document all the reasons you already have to feel this way today. Schedule immediate, controllable actions that generate this exact chemical state right now. In our hyperconnected world, we have lost the superpower of silence. When you're constantly consuming, your brain is in task positive mode. It's busy, but it isn't integrating. Your brain needs unstructured downtime to engage the default mode network in a healthy way, to connect the dots, to synthesize information, and to defragment your mental hard drive. This is the incubation effect. The greatest breakthroughs in history didn't happen at a desk, they happened during a walk, in a bath, or in a dream. But if you fill every gap in your day with your phone, you're literally strangling your own genius. I challenge you 20 minutes a day of digital silence. No podcasts, no music, no talking, just being. Let your brain breathe. This is what this is when the subconscious gold bubbles to the surface. Your brain is a processor. Give it the clock cycles it needs to solve the problems in your life. We are finding that the ancient mystics were actually master neuroscientists. They didn't have fMRIs, but they had inner observation. Meditation isn't woo woo, it's cortical thickening. Gratitude isn't politeness, it is a dopamine oxytocin cocktail that regulates amygdala. Prayer or ritual isn't just belief, it's neural entertainment, aligning your brainwaves to a high frequency of coherence. When you combine the hard science of biology with soft wisdom of spirit, you become an integrated human. You aren't just a meat machine and you aren't just a ghost, you're a conscious biological process. So, many ancient practices are now validated by neuroscience. The mechanisms differ, but the outcomes converge. Meditation and mindfulness measurably thickens prefrontal cortex, reduces amygdala volume, improves HRV and parasympathetic tone in 8 weeks of consistent practice. Gratitude practices activates the medial prefrontal cortex and hypothalamus, increases dopamine and serotonin, shifts attentional bias from threat to resource detection. Visualization and mental rehearsal activates identical motor and sensory cortices. As physical practice used in athletic training, strengthens neural pathways for desired behaviors. Journaling self reflection engages the default mode network and prefrontal cortex in coherent narrative construction. Labeling effect. Naming emotions reduces amygdala reactivity by up to 50%. Community prayer ritual. Social connection releases oxytocin, downregulates HPA axis. Shared ritual synchronizes neural oscillations across brains. Hyperscanning research. The 3M's morning routine, a neuroscience grounded morning protocol for identity reinforcement. You have a 60-minute neuroplastic window every morning. Your brain is transitioning from delta and theta waves into alpha and beta. This is the most programmable time of your day. So start with the movement. M1. 10 minutes of intense movement trigger the release of BDNF. That's the miracle grove for the brain. Then M2, the mindset meditation. While you're still in the theta, plant your identity seeds. Visualize your day with high emotion. You are pre-wiring your success before you even leave the house. Then M3 is meaningful intention. Choose your one thing. Don't give your brain 100 tasks. Give it one focus. Activate the reticular activating system to find that path to that goal. No phones. The moment you check email, you're in the reactive mode. You have just handed the keys to your brain to everyone else. Own your first hour. Build your neural fortress. Win the morning. Win the day. Win your life. Environmental cues and cognitive processing. Your environment is a neural mirror. Every object in your room is anchored to a memory or a behavior. If you try to work in the same chair where you watch TV, your brain is in a state of neural competition. It does not know whether to focus or fade. This is called context-dependent learning. To change your life, you must change your cues. Use scent anchors, essential oils like rosemary for memory or lemon for energy. The olfactory bulb has the most direct path to the brain. And look at your social environment. You have mirror neurons that literally download the emotional state of the people around you. If you hang out with victims, you will become a victim. If you hang out with winners, your brain will unconsciously mimic the neural firing patterns. Surround yourself with neural giants. Design a world that makes success inevitable. So external focus, the doorway effect, and Chemo-Signals. Environments hold associative memory. When you shift physical environments, the brain shifts modes. Physical space also absorbs human Chemo-Signals, sweat, breath, that subconsciously alter performance and stress levels. Guard your physical environment. Internal focus, the processing deficit. We live in the most hyper-simulated era in the history, chronically avoiding silence. Without dedicated, device-free processing time, like staring at the ceiling or journaling, unprocessed emotions become permanent unconscious programming. More on environment association and Chemo-Signals. You cannot reliably outthink your environment. Design it deliberately. Olfactory signals bypass the thalamus and access the limbic system and memory centers directly, making scent the most powerful environment cue for state conditioning. Context-dependent memory, state-dependent learning means that the brain retrieves memory and emotional states associated with specific environmental cues. Scent anchoring. Use a specific scent, peppermint, it could be citrus, exclusively during deep work sessions. Over weeks, that scent becomes a conditioned trigger for focus states. Social environment. You absorb the behavioral standards and beliefs of your 5 closest relationships. The amygdala uses others' emotion states for social referencing. The dysregulation is contagious. Physical space design. Friction is the enemy of habits. Place what you want within 20 seconds of reach. Remove friction for desired behaviors, add friction for unwanted ones. This is quite critical. This is also mentioned in the Atomic Habits book by James Clear. Digital environment. Every notification is an amygdala hijack. Batch check messages. The average person loses 23 minutes of focus after each interruption. Light and circadian health. Morning bright light calibrates the circadian clock, optimizing cortisol awakening response and improving mood. Focus and sleep quality 16 hours later. Auditory environment. Binaural beats and specific music BPMs measurably alter brainwave states. Match your auditory environment to the cognitive state you need. We have to kill the word discipline and replace it with self-trust. Discipline feels like punishment, self-trust feels like power. When you keep promise to yourself, you are building the ventral striatum, the part of the brain that says, I'm a winner. When you break a promise, you trigger insula, which is associated with disgust. You literally feel the self-disgust at a cellular level. Stop shaming yourself. Shame triggers cortisol, which shuts down the prefrontal cortex. If you mess up, use self-compassion. Research shows that people who forgive themselves for a mistake are more likely to succeed next time. Say this to yourself. I'm a person I can rely on. Every small act, drinking the water, making the bed, doing the extra rep, is a vote for your new identity. Build a nervous system of integrity where you trust yourself. The world has no choice but to trust you too. This is the ultimate edge. Discipline is not about forcing yourself to do more. It's a nervous system state. And your brain can feel the difference between acting from trust and acting from fear. For example, I have to do this. You can have a new frame for this. I choose this because I trust my future self. This shifts the locus of control from external to internal, reduces cortisol, improves follow through. If you have something like, I failed, I'm weak, a situation where something did not work out for you, you can reframe it with a new frame. My brain needs more repetitions. This is the data. Self-compassion reduces shame. Cortisol spiral increases learning velocity and persistence. Motivation first, then action. If you have that, you can reframe it with a new frame. Action first, dopamine follows. Neurologically accurate. The nucleus accumbens releases the dopamine after initiation, not before. Here's the ultimate biohack: contribution. Why? You may ask why. Because the brain is a pro-social organ. When you do something for others, you release a cocktail of oxytocin, serotonin, and dopamine. It's also known as the DOS cocktail that no drug can match. This is the helper's high. It lowers systemic inflammation. It protects your heart. It literally keeps your brain young. Purpose is neural protection. People with high sense of meaning have more cognitive reserve against Alzheimer's. When you have a why that's bigger than yourself, you tap into a reserve tank of energy. Your brain will bypass fatigue signals to help you serve. If you're depressed, go help someone. If you're stuck, go solve the problem for someone else. You weren't designed to just survive. You're designed to thrive through service. Your purpose is a rocket fuel for your neuroplasticity. Find your mission and your brain will find the way. Who are you here to serve? Neuroscience increasingly confirms what philosophy has long argued. Humans who orient their lives around contribution to something larger than themselves show measurably better cognitive, physical, and psychological outcomes. So you gotta have a purpose beyond the self. Longer average lifespan associated with high eudaimonic well-being versus hedonic well-being. So greater resilience to adversity in individuals reporting contribution as a primary motivator. It's like 2.5 times X. There's also a reduction of 48% in Alzheimer's disease in adults with purpose-rich lives. This is the roadmap to the new you. 90 days. You may ask, why 90? Because that is the time required for structural neuroplasticity to move from functional change to physical change. Phase 1, the audit. We are clearing the land, we are detoxing, regulating, and identifying the old identity labels. It's about neural pruning. Then we move to the phase 2, that is from days 31 to 60, the rebuild. This is active myelination. We are stacking the habits, building the anchors, and feeding the brain. Deep dopamine. Phase 3, that is from the 61 to the last, the 90 days. The last bucket, the integration. This is when the new you becomes the default mode. You aren't trying anymore, you're being. Individual variation exists, but the biochemical laws do not change. If you do the work, the brain must change. It's a biological certainty. Commit to the 90 days. Do not negotiate with your old self. The old self is dying. Let it go. The new self is waiting. Let's go. The 90-day protocol for neurological transformation grounded in evidence. How do we go about the implementation? This is the implementation plan. In the phase 1, from days 1 to 30, regulate and audit. Nervous system baseline audit. You got to do that. You got to understand where there's a miss or where there's a deviation. Screen and dopamine detox protocol. We already talked about M1 to M3 morning routines. You can inculcate that in the phase 1. Fear inventory. Just identify and name the hidden fears. In the phase 2, that is from days 31 to 60, rewire and reprogress. Identity statement construction. We can do subconscious reprogramming practice. Environment architectural design, we already discussed this. Harmonious passion activation. This again, we talked about earlier. Phase 3, day 61 to 90, embody and expand. Consolidate new neural pathways. Introduce purposeful challenge. Community and contribution design. Measure and recalibrate set points. These timelines reflect average neuroplastic change windows. Individual variation is significant. Consistency is greater than intensity. Here is your daily operating system. Write this down. The first hour, the 3 M's: movement, mindset, meaning. No screens, protect the window. The work blocks. Work in 90-minute sprints. This matches your ultradian rhythms. Focus intensely, then rest. The midday, reset. Vagal toning, box breathing, walk outside. The evening audit, journal. What identity did I embody today? Where did I learn? And then list out all the things that you're grateful for. Basically, the gratitude exercise. The pre-sleep ritual, identify, rehearsal. Visualize the success of tomorrow. This is how you live in the future until the future becomes your present. This is how you own your biology. This is how you own your destiny. You have the map. You have the science. You have the energy. Now take the action. Live with purpose. I'll see you at the top. If you remember nothing else from today, remember this. Your brain is plastic, productive, purpose-driven machine. You have been the kitten walking into the table legs because your past created a limited model of reality. But today, you've seen the science. You've seen that you can change the model. You can change the identity. You can change the wiring. The master key to life is not working harder. It's regulating and rewiring. Change the internal construction and the external world will rearrange itself to match. You have 86 billion neurons waiting for your command. Stop apologizing for your greatness. Stop playing small. Step into the neural architecture of the person you were meant to be. I believe in you. But more importantly, your biology is designed for this. Now go out there and build your masterpiece. God bless you. So, key principles to carry forward. Your brain does not reflect reality. It constructs it from inside out, using prior experiences as the template. The default mode network enforces identity. Change identity first, then behaviors follow with dramatically less resistance. Neuroplasticity requires nervous system safety. Chronic stress is not a motivator, it's a neurological ceiling on growth. Cheap dopamine is the enemy of meaning. Design your environment to make deep, earned rewards the path of least resistance. Processing time, unstructured, unsimulated silence. It's not laziness, it's when the brain does its most creative work. Discipline, built on self trust, is neurologically distinct from discipline built on fear. One sustains, the other burns out. Purpose beyond yourself is not idealism, it's measurably extends lifespan, protects cognition, and amplifies resilience. Where am I the kitten in my own life? The question, this is the question that changes everything. With that, I leave you. Thank you for being with me on this entire narration and this journey.